Hello and welcome to COVID Conversations here on WNCU 90.7 FM, streaming on YouTube, on Facebook and Instagram. I'm your host, Kimberley Cartwright. I'm the News and Public Affairs Director at WNCU, and we're using the Zoom platform to talk about how COVID-19 is affecting our world. Students at North Carolina Central University and around the country have had to adhere to COVID-19 protocols to be able to attend college over the past 2 years. They've learned online and in person, and here to talk about how they're faring in a pandemic environment, trying to get an education, are three North Carolina Central University students, Rebecca Smith, Zenobia, Dowdy, and Evona, Dancey. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hi, how's everything?
Everything great.
Good.
Amazing.
Wonderful. So I want to talk first about you studying during COVID, all of you. So have either of you studied at NCCU before there was COVID-19?
Yes. So
Yes.
I came into
So that's you, Zenobia.
Okay, I'll go. I'm sorry. I'll go first. I'm sorry. I came into Central in 2018. So I did I had one full year without COVID. And then I had my second semester, my sophomore years, whenever we got sent home.
Yeah. So anybody else? What about you, Evona?
It's the same for me. I had about one full normal semester without COVID. And then it was that, I believe, the spring semester when we came back. I think that's when we got sent home and didn't return in 2 weeks.
So one whole semester. So was that a shock for you? Just a shock to your whole system, right?
Yes, it was just a shock that's the only normal college experience I'll really get. And the rest so far has just been adhering to COVID. So
yeah. What about you, Rebecca?
So I am a junior here at Central. So my freshman year, I was, living the normal freshman life without COVID. And that semester for I think spring break is when they told us to, not come back because COVID was a thing. And so it's been like that ever since. And I feel like it's going to be like that for the rest of my college career.
I love it that you said that COVID is a thing. It's a big thing, isn't it, lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very big.
Very much. So tell me about class life when you're in COVID. So what is it like? What have you had to do in class to keep that experience going?
Well, I can go first.
You go first, Evona? Okay.
Yeah, sure. So I know now there's a lot of decals around every building about social distancing and everything. Each classroom pretty much has hand sanitizer for you. Some have wipes. A lot of the professors take their precautions and, they have their disinfectant spray. But the main thing is that us students are wearing our masks a lot around other people and traveling from class to class, just basically in every setting where we're not in our dorm room.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Just to piggyback, I think one of the biggest things coming into this semester I was really excited about was the change in the mask policy, because before it was the cloth, it was I don't want to say anything, but a lot of people were just wearing anything and considering a mask. And this semester they were very adamant on saying it needs to be this type of mask, no cloth mask, and then even getting into the classroom settings and having your professors correct actions why is your mask down or pull your mask up. I really like that, simply because it's helping us all as a collective.
Yeah, so in your class, do people strictly adhere to wearing, and I think that it's the N95 masks that are required. So are people being strict about it, or do you see a lot of people just maybe wearing it on their neck or wearing it on their nose or, having it around their chin?
I feel like for the most part, people are wearing their masks. And if they're not, then the professors do a really good job of correcting you and telling you pull your mask up and stuff, even in the hallways or in their classrooms. So I think people or students are doing a good job of keeping that up.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. So then the next question is, what is the most prohibitive thing that you're finding that your mask obstruct? So what's the most prohibitive thing that you see? Let's go with you first, Evona.
That my mask obstructs, I would say just regular conversations. You kind of really don't know what the person looks like anymore. And sometimes it's a little hard to understand, especially if you're wearing like the big medical KN95 mask. But for the most part, it's really safety over everything. So yeah, while we can't like see each other, maybe hear each other, understand each other, it's just all about being safe.
Okay, what the most prohibitive thing, Rebecca?
I would say I agree with Evona, just like being able to have like normal conversations without, and I feel like it's new to us because we've gone our whole life without wearing them. So now that we have to wear them is kind of like a weird thing. But I think it's something that all of us are getting used to. And I will also say a lot of professors can't really hear what we're saying. So a lot of times they're like, can you speak a little louder? Because, we have these masks on, you have to sort of announce more. So I would say just like Evona said, conversation. I think something that's new, I don't know if anybody's heard this term, but mask fishing is a thing where people don't really look like what you think they look like because they have a mask on. And so I think it's weird that we also don't know what each other looks like, what we look like. So.
That is so strange. Go ahead, Zenobia.
I would say I used to feel like all in one thing, like just the overall social interaction now, because like even the people I knew prior to COVID, I don't even know them. Like whenever I see them on campus, like people were telling me like, you don't know, like it's the mask. Like I honestly and truly don't. And then even like getting in classes, and then like you'll go a whole semester, like you think you know this person, like, oh, I know this person's name, and you see them out in public, and it's just like that is not who I thought you were. And even with professors, because like you'll see them outside of class, and they're like, I've never seen you with your mask off. Like I didn't know that was you. So like just the overall social interaction part of college, of like knowing people, like knowing like your peers, knowing your teachers, knowing all that, like the whole social interaction part is like, I guess the big obstruction that I would say.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry.
Yes, Rebecca, go ahead.
To piggyback off of what Zenobia said, to piggyback off what you said, my sophomore semester, I spent entirely online. I did it virtually. And so I had made connections with these professors. And when I went back and I would speak to them, I would say, hey, so-and-so. And they would be like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, it's me, it's Rebecca. Like, I took your class last semester. Like, oh, yeah, it's the math. So I definitely agree with that.
Wow. And I mean, I'm in the same boat because I've had interactions with all of you over the past 2 years. And today is just about maybe the first or second time that I've ever seen your faces full on with masks. So it is very strange for me to be able to see you and make the connection without your mask. So this gives me a wonderful opportunity to see all of your beautiful faces and interact this way. So I want to talk about your social lives. Have they been better or worse or the same with your mask on? Let's go, Rebecca, you first.
So my social life, I would say for me, I am terrified of COVID. So I really don't go out as much. I don't know if this really applies to my mask, but I think my social life has gone down since the pandemic because of the fact that I don't go out, like I don't, go to restaurants like I did anymore. I don't hang out with people who I'm, not in contact with all the time, like my roommate and stuff. So I would say my social life has gone down with that, but I'm not sure about the mask part. I feel like I see the same people with my mask and without it. So the social part with my mask doesn't really affect my life as much.
Okay, Zenobia.
I was gonna say, can you repeat the question one more time?
The social life, how's it been? Okay, better, worse, so the same with your mask on?
I was thinking so hard. I was gonna say the biggest thing is that I would say I'm a very like optimistic person. I like being around people. So whenever we went into COVID and being stuck in the house, I would say that's one of the biggest things that messed with me, because now I don't like being around a lot of people. Like my social media, like once it reaches its max, like I'm over it. Like I can't really be around a lot of people. And I guess it was just the fact that like I spent a lot of time like in the house with my family or with my sister. And I would say like moving into like this year per se, I've been doing a lot more stuff. Like last year I did some traveling. I went to Atlanta And I think that was it. But other than that, like I only went with 2 people. So like the social aspect of my life, I would say also, I don't want to say like in a bad sense, but I lost a lot of friends too, because like we can't go out and interact. And then like, the group FaceTime, like people have like other stuff that got going on. So just like a lot of it just dwindled down to like certain people or like just certain things that I do.
What about you, Evona? Same thing you're finding?
Yeah, picking off of what she said, the social meter, like it's crazy how my social meter has changed now. I would honestly consider myself like an introvert now. And I don't think I was my first year of college. I was definitely, enjoying myself more. I had a bigger circle of friends around me, and we were like, going out, doing freshman things. I don't go out anymore at all now, like really. And I have maybe 3 friends that I keep in rotation. Um, and just like with your social meter, I just find that even when I do go out and hang around people, it's only for like an hour, and then I'm ready to go back in my house and shut the door and be alone. So I think it has affected it negatively, I would say.
Oh, that is so sad. In my mind, being that you guys are computer savvy more so than any generation, I thought that maybe you guys would set up Zoom calls or Facebook Lives or things like that for interaction. So none of that technology comes into play to help you with your social.
I would say like me and my friends, like we use group FaceTime a lot whenever
Yes.
like the pandemic had first started. But like just as like time went on and then like people's days and stuff like that, like it dwindled on. I feel like, and then even being like on social media, like I don't know about like everybody else, but I don't tend to get on social media as much as I used to. Like I used to be like on all the time, like concerned about like what to post, stuff like that. But it's like now it's not something that's like a big thing to me. And then I guess also during COVID, a lot of people switched over to doing like more like entrepreneur stuff or like spiritual work and stuff like that. So like more focusing on themselves. So like that was a transition in itself. And the one thing I also want to piggyback on was how campus life has changed, because prior to COVID, like it was always something to do on campus. Like it was something to do. And now all the things that are done on campus, like it's a limit, you have to register for it, all these protocols. And there's plenty of stuff around campus, like the clubs and stuff. But before COVID, that wasn't my thing. And definitely now it's not going to be my thing, because the procedures there, I know for a fact, aren't being followed. So that's my last little thing.
Yeah. So what about coping mentally? Anybody having any problems or things that you think that you would have to have help going through? Like, is there any fear of isolation, maybe, Evona?
Isolation, maybe, yeah. I think the biggest thing that this like pandemic has had on my mental is just really getting used to the fact that it's not going to go away anytime soon. Like I remember when we first quarantined for like a month, and everybody was like, "Oh, it'll be gone by like April or May or whatever month that was." And here we are in 2022, we're still in the pandemic. People are still catching COVID. So once I just realized like, okay, this is something that we're going to have to deal with for a while. And then once it started to actually change parts of my life, like going out, having to wear the masks around and stuff, it just kind of caused like a mental decline almost. Like you just kind of don't feel hopeful. You just kind of don't feel inspired when you go out anymore. You just, you have to go out and you have to think about putting on hand sanitizer and making sure I don't touch this, get too close to that guy who's coughing, stuff like that.
Yeah. Ladies, any of you coping fears, isolation?
Okay.
Rebecca?
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah, I definitely agree with Ivana. I would say for me, I'm definitely, again, like I'm scared of COVID, and I have older, family members, and so like the thought of them or me catching COVID or friends catching COVID, it's always scary. But one thing that I would say kind of keeps me going is the fact that like we're all going through this together. COVID has impacted all of us. So it's not like I'm alone in this, and it's okay to feel how I feel. It's okay to not be okay sometimes, because this is something that, you know, we're all kind of going through at the same time. So that kind of keeps me.
Okay, quickly, Zenobia, we're running low on time. Anything?
The biggest thing I would say is that
Coping. Yes, go ahead.
with coping, I would just say like the biggest thing, just piggyback off of what Rebecca said, just realizing that everybody is going through this. And then being able to take advantages of the things that we have on campus, because prior to COVID, I didn't take advantage of them. And even now, I don't know if it's a fear thing or what it is, but like the counseling center, everybody always says like good things about that, so taking advantage of that. I think Evona had mentioned earlier the student accessibility center. Like I really like that as well. Like you get COVID, they'll help you, they'll send a letter out to your teachers and let them know. But just knowing that, like Rebecca said, like hearing from my peers coming this semester that we're all going through the same thing, that I'm not the only one who's feeling like this is crazy. So that was the biggest thing.
Okay, Rebecca Smith, Zenobia Dowdy, Evona Dancey, thank you guys for sharing your experiences about COVID-19 with us.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank you, audience, for watching via YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram, as well as listening to WNCU on 90.7 FM. And be sure, we want you to like us, we want you to follow us, and we definitely want you to subscribe to our pages to see more of our archive shows. I'm Kimberly Pierce Cartwright, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in.